Yeah, exactly. Okay, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bristol Town Council meeting of November 28th. We have a special treat this evening. We have Brownie Troop 908, and they are here working on their community celebration badge. They got to view a little bit of our Burnside building, and then also that was done with the administrator. Thank you, Mr. Administrator. And the town clerk showed them our tapestry that's mounted over here on the side as part of that. The girls are going to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Girls, come on up. Right over here. I'm going to have you face that flag so everybody at home can see you. So come on all the way up so everybody can fit. And then face back there. We're all going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. There you go. Okay, you ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Nice job. Can we have a round of applause for them? It's tough not to smile, isn't it? No. Future community leaders, future maybe national leaders, who knows, right? So
Sky's the limit.
we got a few things to go over this evening, but I'm going to start this meeting with another thank you. Two gentlemen that are sitting to my right and to my left, Councilman Tiska and Councilman Stewart, have served 2 years. Mr. Tiska did, Councilman Tiska, and Councilman Stewart served 6 years for the town of Bristol. And I wanted to say, on behalf of the people of Bristol and also this council, thank you. Thank you for your efforts. I know that we'll have our time at the end of the meeting to talk about it, but I wanted to start the meeting to say thank you. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for your energies. As most of you know, a lot of this hard work happens not at this meeting. It's other times. It's the hard work that both did in completely different avenues. Ed was very much focused with the road projects, and that's just one of hundreds of things. Andy was very much focused and was the JFC chairman for 2 years. Neither is easy things to do. So again, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for your hard work and efforts, and I know the people of Bristol appreciated both of you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, everyone. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council. The first item on this evening's agenda is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The next is submission
Thank
of
you.
minutes of previous meetings, items A1 and A2.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is an advertised public hearing. This is to consider the intoxicating beverage license renewals for 2018-2019. You also have a objection filed by one particular individual, and also they believe there are some recommendations that will follow where the licenses themselves are considered. This is the public hearing.
So, being a public hearing, we're going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? And we're not speaking of one license. We're speaking of all the licenses that are up for renewal. So is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone against? Welcome.
Hello. My name is Domini Mello. I'm here from Mello's Fruitland Incorporated. Unfortunately, I've been before you before regarding another establishment that is no longer in business. The reason why I'm here is this particular business, Guillory's Tap House, owes us a certain amount of money. And I, first of all, need clarification regarding the obligation of these businesses that hold the licenses and what their duty is to pay vendors, Whether or not the renewal will go forward, I'm not sure if it's just liquor licenses, it's all businesses. We've made numerous attempts, and it's not a large amount of money, but it's a large amount of money to us. We have sent a certified letter when it was not accepted. Along with the certified letter, the other invoice, the statement, I believe, was accepted. We never received it. My husband made numerous attempts to contact them, call them, and they just are refusing to pay us. So, like I said, I just need clarification, and I don't know if there's anything that can be done regarding it's a privilege for these businesses to hold the licenses, and for them to just not pay vendors, it's not right. It's just...
So I'm going to answer that, part of that. I'm going to ask the solicitor to answer part of that. So first, Mrs. Mello, it's been our past practice of this council and past councils, quite honestly, to renew licenses pending if there's bills that are due, that we do not issue that license until those bills are paid. But Mr. Solicitor, could you answer the rest of that question?
Sure. Obviously, bills that need to be paid between vendors, a civil matter, it's between the vendor and the person that you've sold to, and there's a court system to take care of that. However, having said that, if this council so desires, it could make the transfer of the license contingent upon...
Renewal, right? It's a renewal.
It's a renewal.
I may have said transfer, and I apologize if I did.
Renewal of the license contingent upon payment of all bills, and if the bills aren't paid, the clerk's office will not issue the license, and they will not be able to serve alcohol.
And as I said, that has been our past practice.
Okay.
I don't know what we're planning on doing, and once we close the public hearing, we can discuss that, but that has certainly been our past practice.
Okay, well, I appreciate the consideration.
Of course.
And thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak against? Is there anyone else to speak against? Is there anyone else to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, in regards to the license renewals for intoxicated beverage 2018-2019, it is frustrating. We want the success of all our businesses, such as the vendors and our establishments that provide for all our residents in our town and our tourists. Our clerk does a great job of notification, and we understand that we had many workshops and meetings over the years of regulations, over-regulations, what businesses convey to us, that the paperwork and whatnot. But when it comes to this type of paperwork, it is a privilege, and businesses should take the time because it's a necessary thing to show us that you want the license. And time again, I know since I've been here and my colleagues, we don't have everyone's application. And for transparent purposes, I have always said, I don't think this council should approve it like the chairman said. It should be contingent. We need that paperwork. If something should happen, and then it's going to fall back on the town of Bristol and this council. So in my motion, with all the recommendations, I make a motion to approve the renewals, except contingent for the Beach House, Guillory's, Thames Waterside, and Classic Pizza, because I do not see their application in my folder. With my motion, Mr. Clerk, because I know if they do, then that's fine, because we've been down this road before. So I just want to protect us part of the record, and I know you do a good job going forward from there. It's just from the standpoint from the town, I just want to make sure all the paperwork is filed that we're aware of. I know it is with your office, but just, I just, as the chairman said, we make that contingent on our motion, so.
Is there a second for discussion or a second?
Yeah, I'll second the motion as long as it's contingent on all bills paid. You know what I mean? We'll just, as long as that,
Yeah.
then I'm okay with it.
Right, and it's compliance with all ordinances because several of these establishments need to take care of their sewer renewal fees, et cetera. So all of that is in your packet, and your motion is broad enough to cover compliance with everything. Ordinances, state law, payment of bills.
Just for clarification, I notice Windsong Red Lefferson's still on the list, but we have that new restaurant Portside. Will that be a separate and apart of that?
They are actually both on the list.
Okay.
So, because at the time that we started the advertising, we didn't know who the license holder will be. It's actually still in the hands of the original owner, and that will all transfer
Okay.
based upon that. If you notice, the advertisement has both.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, this is the second reading for adoption of Ordinance 2018-15. This is an ordinance of the Town of Bristol pursuant to Section 303 of the Town Charter regarding the salary of the Town Administrator.
So this is something that I had brought forward recently, but certainly I would not take credit for having this dialogue first. This has been something that's been discussed by this council for quite a while. If I know that you can't see the supporting documentation, but there's a whole bunch of it that puts Bristol in the bottom third in regards to the administrator or mayor's salary. It was my belief, and again, I know that others sitting with me here also agree with this, that the numbers were inappropriate for the position. If it sounds like I'm a little bit hesitant on it, is that the way that this works is unfortunate, is that we, the council, you must take action on this, and it feels like you're focusing on a particular person. That's not the case here. I'm not saying anything derogatory about our current administrator. In fact, I like him very much. That being said, this is about the position, and the position has been underfunded for quite a while, in our opinion. I'm going to let my colleagues speak for themselves. But this adjustment is, if this passes, would raise the salary over a 2-year span. And even at that raised salary, we're at the middle of the pack. So even with those adjustments, we're still middle of the road. Last time this was adjusted was 12 years ago. I don't know about you, but certainly I've been considered for a raise in the last 12 years. And I think it's appropriate that we do that. And I guess why I'm sharing this part of it is that we will be looking at a charter review at some point, and I'd like us to consider the charter review to have it built in that we must review this every 5 years. Now, that doesn't mean it has to go up every 5 years. It just means it needs to be reviewed every 5. So therefore, it isn't a motivation from the council that's sitting there at the time or a reflection on past or current administrators. It's more of part of our process. We do this with every other position, or should, and I think it's appropriate that we do this with this position, and potentially, and we should have some more dialogue about it, but the clerk's position too, and have it just reviewed, as opposed to a motivation from one or all of the council sitting there at the time. What's my colleague's thoughts?
Could you just take a second and explain, just for the people watching or in the audience, why we have to do it, in the timing of it? You know?
Thank you, Mary. That's a great point. Is that why now, right? Because it has to be before the next 2-year term. And I know we're just really close to that, and it's fine. It doesn't matter when you do it. But it has to be before the next 2-year term. That's why this council is doing it and not the next council. If you didn't know, we had a first and second reading. This is the second reading for potential adoption on it. But that's why, and it's a great point, Mary. The current charter reads that the council makes this call, and council makes the call on most of these things with regards to dollars. In this instance, the council must bring it forward, and that's what happened in this instance. Does that answer that, Mary?
Yeah. So just we talked about it the last meeting when this was first up for the first reading. I just wanted to make sure it was clear to people why we're doing it and not just waiting for another council or whatever coming up. So
I'll make one more point. What I'm looking at is I'll call it a spreadsheet, but it's a sheet with comparisons of other communities. I'm going to give you the highest, and this is way off highest, but Newport is $178,500. To give you an idea, you got to go down about 15 to get to where we want to get to in 2 years. If that feels like it's inappropriate, it was my belief, and I believe it's my my colleagues' belief too, that we can't go too quickly on this. We can't. I'm not suggesting we go to 178,000. Sorry, Steve, but we need to do this appropriately and make sure that we can deal with it in our budget too. In 2 years' time, we will be where Hopkinton is right now, which is pretty much the middle of the road or less than that. So. I'm very confident that this is the right way to go. I also believe that we may garner even more applicants for the position, people running for that position. Again, sorry, Steve. Again, I think you're doing a good job, but notice how I'm uncomfortable with this. This is the problem with how it's set up right now. It should be automatic as opposed to being brought forward. So, sorry, I made that very long, but I wanted to be clear.
Well, I I believe, like you said, Mr. Chairman, this isn't the first time this has been brought up. It's been brought up on numerous councils and administrations. It's been talked about. So I think the only way you accomplish it is to do it. So, and we're doing it in a modest fashion in comparison to other municipalities on scale. And just like anything, I always say you can always revisit. So,
Well put.
This would be like, we'd be like 21st, if I counted correctly, I just did it quickly. Many people are well over 100,000. Many of the towns, and this doesn't go as high as that, many of the towns that we compare ourselves to on a regular basis, Narragansett, North Kingstown, South Kingstown is shockingly high, $171,000. That's a lot of money. But they're all of those, Warwick, Smithfield, they're all up over 100,000. And ours is currently at 75,000. So I think moving it up over 2 years to what would be 95, I think that's a reasonable thing if you want to have professional people continue to run for this office. I mean, it's really important. Government is a full-time responsibility, and there's a lot of moving parts to running a local town, and many of our department heads actually make way more than the administrator, and so I think that this is like a fair way to approach it. We've talked about it many times in the budget hearings over the years, and I think that we finally took some action on it. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say I think it's a good proactive move. I think my colleagues remember when we dealt with the library way back a couple years ago where we were kind of way behind in salaries, and we had to make the huge jump to get them into market value. And I think this is a good approach to get the town administrator's salary to a good market value where we're getting the best candidates. And again, Steve's doing a great job, but we want to make sure that we're making sure we're at the market value and we're paying the position what it needs to be paid. So I think we're doing that. So I think it's a smart move.
What's this council's pleasure?
Can I just make one other quick point?
Certainly.
I just want to, when you talk about the sheet, just so people know, there's a municipal salary survey that is out there for pretty much all positions. You know, if we wanted to find out what other clerks make and what other police chiefs, et cetera, make, we can find that out, and it's ranked in order. And also the information is the chief of staff, and this is conducted by the state's Division of Municipal Affairs Office. So it's an objective criteria, and so anytime that we look to do raises or what is appropriate for a position, we do look at what this salary survey says. So it's not just arbitrary. It's here. It's able to be looked up. You can look it up online.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that beginning the fiscal budget cycle July 1st, 2019, the sum of the town administrator's salary shall be $85,500.
Second?
And
Could you just add that it constitutes second reading?
and this constitutes the second reading. And I'm just explaining for the public so they know the amounts. And then beginning July 1st, 2020, the sum should be $95,500 for the town administrator's salary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, is Ordinance 2018-16. This is to remove Buttonwood Street East, in consideration of the stopping, standing, and parking portion of the Town Code. This is to remove Buttonwood Street East side from Franklin Street to Bayview Avenue. This is the first reading.
Motion to approve the first reading for adoption.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. We're not going to discuss the merits of it. I'd just like to, for the public, how did we get here? Because what was the motivation behind this? If you would, please.
Our code compliance officer found that there were several vehicles parked there for days at a time, and he noticed, according to the town code, this is Buttonwood Street north of Franklin, which used to be the front of the Minor Industries building. So when it was an operating factory in that place, in that area, they needed no parking out front. The code reflected no parking, however, the signage was gone. The town, maybe 10 years ago, actually built parking spaces there. So we built parking, however, we had an outdated ordinance. We're just looking to remove the ordinance.
Thank you. So there was a motion and a second for first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the petition of Mackenzie Welch, 576 Metacom Avenue, number 12, doing business as Sip Sip Hooray, request council consideration for a vittling license. You have recommendations from the town administrator and chemist pretreatment coordinator, and also the town administrator and chief of police.
Motion to approve the victualling license for Sip Sip and Hooray upon all the recommendations and ordinances.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I think it's a great name. That's part of my discussion. I think that's great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the Sunday sales renewals for package stores. That's item E2, and you have recommendations from the town administrator, fire chief, and also the town administrator and chief of police.
Lou, we skipped, I believe, D2.
The
Yeah,
canine, the
Karen
Curtis
McCarthy.
canine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
We'll go back to that one. Item D2 is the petition of Karen McCarthy, 1 Vasta Lane, doing business as the Courteous Canine LLC, requesting for a dog kennel license.
So we've had other home businesses with kennel licenses. I would like on this one, if my colleagues are okay with it, if we could continue this. I'd like to get a recommendation from from Ed Tanner or Diane in regards to its appropriateness here. And I know that we reached out to the police department. Maybe our animal control officer could weigh in on its appropriateness over there. I'm not opposed to having another one, because I got to tell you, as far as I know, they've been going very well. But I would love to have the recommendation myself to hear a little bit more and make sure it's appropriate for the area. What's my colleague's thoughts?
Make a motion to continue.
Second?
So there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
So now we are at the Sunday sales license renewals, item E2. This is for package stores, and you have the recommendations as previously noted.
Motion to approve the Sunday sales license renewals 2018-2019, and also I'll just keep it simple, Lou, with all the applications on file. Any application that hasn't filed, contingent until they do that, then they get approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next are the vittling license renewals for 2018-2019. You have the recommendations provided by the town administrator, fire chief, from the chemist, pretreatment coordinator regarding certain non-renewal of wastewater discharge permits, and the recommendation of the chief of police.
Motion to approve the vittling license renewal for 2018 to 2019.
And
I'll
again,
second.
we know it's subject to
Second.
Contingent to all.
All the
compliance with all
recommendations.
statutes, ordinances.
Yeah, because there is a couple businesses
Well
that
said. So
we have to
moved.
keep under that
On the similar
umbrella.
part, right, yeah.
Got to keep it going.
Okay.
Is that a second, Ed?
Yeah.
All
So
right.
there's a second on that. Is there any discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is item E4. This is the amusement device license renewals for 2018-2019. You have recommendations provided by the town administrator, fire chief, and chief of police.
Motion to approve the amusement devices upon all the regulations and ordinances and recommendations.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And we have item 5. This is the holiday sales license renewals for 2018-2019. You have recommendations provided by the town administrator, fire chief, and chief of police.
Upon all the recommendations and ordinances and contingent upon the application process, approve the holiday sales license renewals 2018-2019.
Second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And item E6, this is the additional hours licenses for 2018-2019. You have recommendations provided by the town administrator, fire chief, and chief of police.
Upon those recommendations and ordinances, and this is the last but not least, for all the licenses for the year, for 2018, 2019, make a motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I don't know if it's discussion or not, but there was some confusion as to,
Come on up.
my name is Steve Martell.
Welcome.
My wife and I have Naturally Divine over on Hope Street. We came in, they weren't sure whether or not to do a renewal because we're moving from 450 to 325. So I don't know if we were included in those renewals or if we were not put on the new list.
Are you moving to the Alfred's building?
I'm sorry?
Are you moving to Alfred's building?
We are.
Oh, I see you working. I see people working in there. I was wondering what was going on.
The clerk is checking right now.
So before we move on, I just wanted to make sure that we were...
Yep.
E3, right?
This is for which one?
There's about 50 of each.
You're on
of
for
these.
450, but it will, all you're going to have to do is to reapply. There won't be any additional fee, but you'll have to reapply for the new location.
Once we're in.
Well, when you should probably do it now.
We did do that.
Did you reapply for the, okay, so
We did.
it just didn't make this meeting because we were just talking renewal at this time.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of paperwork at this point.
Okay.
So we can denote that as, actually, we just did, as part of the record.
Thank you very much.
So, you
So,
got it.
Mr. Martell, while you're there, let's do another commercial.
There's a 30-second commercial. for you.
Yeah, Naturally Divine, am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
And you're moving to what location? And I see you're doing a wonderful job with the renovations, and
We're going 325 Hope Street, and we are expanding into some meal prep, so people will be able to go online, order their meals, and then pick up the following day or the day after that. And
Fantastic.
that's between Leo's and Angelina's in that belt over there?
it's, the 325 is the big yellow building right near the old key shop.
Well, just trying
In
to
true
direct
Rhode
the
Island
people.
terms, right
Yep.
next to the old key shop where Alfred used to be.
Very
Or
Rhode
something
Island
used to
of you.
be. Very nice.
Glad you're moving in
Thank you,
there.
guys.
Very nice.
Great.
Good luck. So we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item F1. This is the petition of Judy Anderson, 117 Constitution Street, requests council consideration for an accessible parking space in nearby her residence. This is the first reading.
Motion to approve the first reading?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is item F2. This is the petition of Judith Guild, 25 Noyes Avenue, request for a no parking area. You have the recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Public Works Director, and also the Chief of Police.
Upon those recommendations of the Director of Public Works for the extension, I make a motion that we approve.
It's going to have to go for ordinance.
And we're going to have our solicitor write up an ordinance for that.
There you go.
Is there a s-
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is the petition of Allison Bortone for Wilson Street, requests council consideration for an accessible parking space nearby her residence.
Motion to approve the first reading?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the appointment section. You have the public service appointments for November. You have the Bristol County Water Authority. This is to fill an unexpired term ending February 2021. You have 3 applicants, Robert Martin of 10 St. Anna Avenue. You have John McQuilkin of 126 Thames Street and Harold Sawyer of 6 Glenview Drive, all seeking council consideration for appointment.
Make a motion to schedule an interview for all 3 applicants.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item J1. This is bid number 892. This is for sodium chloride for road treatment for the winter season 2018-2019. You have, there were 3 respondees and 2 bids. The first is from Morton Salt of Chicago, Illinois, in the amount of $55.69 per ton, and the second from Champion Salt LLC of Providence in the amount of $47.75 per ton, and Cargill of North Olmsted, Ohio, responded but did not bid.
Make a motion to refer this to the town administrator and the director of public works to act in the best interest of the town.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. I just had one point of discussion. Steve, this was done for a potential cost savings. Do these bids potentially realize the cost savings?
Yeah, they definitely do. The DPW director was purchasing off the master price agreement through the state of Rhode Island. He took a chance to go out to bid on our own, and I don't exactly have a figure right now, but we do know there is a savings. Julie?
Dollars per ton, I believe?
Yeah, so we're talking probably, yeah, well over $10,000
Wow.
for just going for the cost of advertising. So
I'm
Would you-
surprised
That's
that-
considerable.
that's good.
Yeah, would you keep us in the loop on that? 'Cause
I'll tell you what the exact figure is when I get it.
that would be great.
So the master list was the best negotiated contract price that there was. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hats off to the director for doing that. So,
Did a good job.
yeah. So there's a motion and a second to refer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is from the Economic Development Coordinator regarding the Black Ships Festival appropriation.
Good evening, Chris.
Good evening. As you guys remember, back in January, I came before the council asking for a $2,500 appropriations request to sponsor the Black Ships here in 2018. Their event happened in July. It was a big success. But the invoices for that festival didn't come in until a little earlier in the fall. That $2,500 was allocated as part of the fiscal year 2017 budget and not the 2018 budget. So I'm asking that the town council appropriate $2,500 from their 2018 budget to help us pay for the remaining expenses from this festival from the past year.
So, Julie, this would come from where? The magic tree in the backyard, right?
Yes.
So,
Council contingency?
Contingency?
There's currently $8,500 remaining in that account.
okay. And that's where it came from in the 17 budget, correct?
We actually did not use it in
didn't use it.
the
It's like a
17
carryover,
budget.
yeah.
We
What
had
I mean
talked-
is, was it budgeted?
We didn't carry forward the funds because that would have been the only line item this year. If you typically, we carry forward a handful of funds every year.
Yep.
This year, we didn't have any, and so we didn't carry forward that one particular line item.
Fair enough?
So is this considered bookkeeping? Because
The timing
to
of the
explain to
event.
the public,
Yeah.
if we didn't
Yeah.
use it, because when the motion was made by this council, we only had it for 1 year, the Black Ships, and whatever this council approved for the funds should be that amount, and not
It was
add
the-
more
Right, and so
as
it
of
was,
tonight.
it was just the timing of the billing of the event, the timing of the event and then the billing that comes with that.
So it's the same dollars, just
Same
done a little bit
dollars,
later?
right.
Okay. All right.
So just to be clear again, it's the same $2,500. It's not additional money that was previously committed, and this is for the event this summer. It is not for the event coming up.
Correct.
And is it anticipated that there will be a request in next year's budget for this event for next July or whenever it is scheduled for?
So I anticipate going forward, as part of the next budget season, we'll review our sponsorship and the location of that funding.
So, yes? Okay. What's this council's pleasure?
Make a motion to take $2,500 from contingency to appropriate the proper funding for the Treasurer's Department and the Community Development Department of our Economic Development Coordinator to address the situation of the Black Ships.
Is there a second?
I'll second, just for clarity.
Please.
It's coming contingency, correct?
I believe that's
Yes.
Yeah,
That was
okay.
what Julie
You're
proposed.
advised, yeah.
It's not going to sound anything like that.
It's not going to come from me, Council.
I heard some other departments, so I was like, well,
Where was it going to come out previously?
It was coming out of the tourism, and I forgot what that specific line item was, but it was out of tourism, correct?
Yeah, so half of the sponsorship was out of the tourism budget, and half was from the council contingency. and grant funding. So we did seek out grant funding for that economic impact study to look at the benefit of bringing them into town. So the grant that we acquired was able to offset the cost of that study, but this contingency amount will pay the remaining invoices that are due.
So just to beat a dead horse, because I feel like it, this again was just because the fiscal year passed. This is not additional funds, it's the same funds, we
That's
just went
correct.
into the next fiscal year.
That's correct.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Well, you don't have to worry, because even though me and Councilman Tiska are leaving, we're going to keep an eye on this, and we'll let you know.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is the periodic report provided by the Bristol County Water Authority Barrington Director Alan Klepper.
Motion to receive and file?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is on the council docket at the request of the town solicitor. It concerns the solar facilities lease with New Gen.
I know many of you have been wondering, when are we finally going to bring this matter to a conclusion? And the fact that you have in front of you this evening a lease with attachments of over 60 pages tells you a little reason why. The negotiations on this were ongoing, but as always, we wanted to make sure we dotted the I's and crossed the T's and did not bring it before you until we were satisfied that we had a good lease. We had a great team that worked on this, including Nathan and Julie and Diane and myself, etc. I think Chris was there for one of them too, maybe. And the administrator who's sitting right next to me is reminding me.
You're going to hear it later.
See, here's the problem. I'm looking this way, not looking that way. In any event, the reason this is such a wonderful win-win for the town is because the landfill basically is a hazardous site. There's a cap on it. You can't do anything with it for obvious reasons. Yet, a solar array is perfect for a landfill, whether it's in Bristol or in other communities, but we're talking about our town. And this solar array or this solar facility is going to be developed on top of the landfill because it's a use that's quite appropriate. It's green energy, and it won't interfere in any way with the landfill cap at all. As a matter of fact, this lease has an indemnification in it for the town in the event that Nugent, who will be developing this facility, somehow breaches the cap, or it's highly unlikely. Point is, we are indemnified if something happens. So if that does happen, they have to fix it and put it all back together again. So the lease is a 25-year lease. It has to be at least 25 years because of the investment that they're making and because of the lifetime of the panels, etc. There are options for renewals. There are 5-year renewals. There are actually options for up to 4 5-year renewals that will be negotiated. The base rent that is stated in the lease is $200,000 annually, plus $15,000 annually for taxes on the solar panels. However, that base rent is subject to change based on a number of items. For instance, in order to make the solar panels run, there's an interconnection fee that National Grid charges to make this all work. We used a number based on the time and best practices, $200-something thousand. If, in fact, that number is higher or lower, the base rent can either go up or down. And additionally, a number's been plugged into something called renewable energy credits, which they're going to get per 15 kilowatts of power. If that 15 cents goes up, the base rent goes down. If the 15 cents goes down, the base rent goes up. So my point is that we, the town, benefit if things go in one direction. If they go in another direction, the base rent of $200,000 goes down. One of the other reasons we had long negotiations is because we wanted to make sure we put a floor in there for the town to protect our interest. The floor that's worked into the lease is $150,000, meaning if, when all these adjustments are done, if it would bring the annual rent below $150,000, we have the right to say, we're not doing this with you. We can stop it. Now, chances are, after they make a tremendous investment, and we're talking about multiple millions of dollars, we're going to work that out. But just want you all to know, the floor is there for 150. We have the right to pull the plug at that point. If, in fact, we decide to pull the plug because it goes below the 150, they have 2 weeks to think about it and come back and say, never mind, we'll take care of you. So we've got all of these protections built in on the hazardous waste, on the lease payments, et cetera. Again, very complicated, but I am now satisfied that this lease is in form that I would ask you this evening to authorize our town administrator to execute it at some future point. But I'm very comfortable with this. I believe the town is well protected. And as I started with, this is a win-win situation. I'm more than happy to answer questions. I know you all had the ability between 2 and 4 in the morning to read through all this.
Well, I'm extremely happy, considering the amount of time and effort that was put into it. And I have to compliment my chairman because of the multiple conversations over the years me and him had with everybody. And thank you for all your hard work, because there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to solar and the projects, and it's not easy. So I'm just happy that this is going to benefit the town of Bristol, its residents, for long term, and we protect ourselves by the hard work you did building into the lease. And it was a long time coming, and it's almost like a nice parting gift. But I was going to wrap it up in Christmas paper to give to the town of Bristol, but thank you very much.
I think Mike and everyone who worked on it deserves a lot of credit to get it done. I mean, we've been talking about this and working on it for a long time. I know that the issue pops up every so often in the paper, like, why hasn't the council done anything on solar? And we've been working on this for years, and had many meetings about it in executive session, talked about what we expected and what we wanted, what would be the best interests of our taxpayers in public, and we finally got to the final, like, the finish line. So thank you very much for continuing to work on it and pushing for what we wanted and getting there. So Steve and Mike and Nathan and everyone else who did the negotiations, because this was over what, maybe 2 years,
Longer than that?
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a long time. So.
Yeah. Mike, I just
Checkbox.
had a quick question on the insurance of it and how the insurance is going to work. I was looking at the contract, and one of the on page 17, 13.3, I noticed like there was just there was just a missing gap on contractual liability with limits not less than blank dollars combined single limit, and I was just curious if that was anything.
So that's the landlord's insurance, that's
Okay.
the town's
Landlord's
insurance, and what we'll be plugging in there is the maximum amount that we have with the trust, which I believe is $5 million. So,
$5 million,
and I
okay.
should point out, some of the
good, so we're
exhibits that are attached, similarly, we've got to fill in the blanks on some of the exhibits.
Yeah, I
but-
noticed some of
But
that.
yes, good question, but it'll be the limit on what we have with the trust. So again, we won't go over what our insurance is.
Right. Other than that, it's just a win-win situation. I'm glad we're at the head of the curve and we're doing this, and thank you all for all your hard work on it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd just like to also recognize the hard work that was put in by many around these tables here and across the community, and I think it's a fantastic thing for our community as we continue to try to reduce the burden on taxpayers with property taxes. This is another revenue source that the town can continue to use to provide quality services for our residents. So congratulations to everyone involved.
What's this council's pleasure? So, Mike, could you help us with that motion, please?
Sure. The motion would be to authorize the town administrator to sign the solar facilities lease subject to the solicitor's approval.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. I just wanted to say nice job to everyone also. This was a massive amount of work, and this is a massive next step. And it's a great use of a place that can't be used for anything else. So, and as Councilman Tiska said, it's money coming back that doesn't cost the taxpayers anything, which is just spectacular. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
That's your parting gift.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, are the individual council member agenda items, beginning with the chairman.
So I'm going to end how I started. I just wanted to thank Councilman Stewart, Councilman Tiska for their literally years, I guess, as you can say it that way, right? Years of service back to the community. I know it doesn't stop here. I know it didn't start here, but it was most visible here for the last X years. I really do believe you do wonderful work, and we are going to miss you. I also want to take a moment to recognize two new council people that are sitting out in the audience. Tony Texera, who is coming back on the council, and Aaron Lay, who's coming on the council. Our next meeting is actually, well, we have a swearing in on Monday at 7 at Colt Auditorium, Colt School Auditorium. And then on Wednesday is our reorganizational meeting, which is where we pick our chair and vice chair for the next 2 years. But again, welcome, both of you, and welcome back to one of you, and welcome to both of you. How's that? It has been a pleasure to work with all of you for the last X years, all of you for the last X years. I didn't want to say it earlier, Steve, when we were talking about the dollars, but you are doing an excellent job, and I like that to be on the record. I didn't want the dollars to be connected with you and the job that you're doing, but on a separate and apart, you are doing an excellent job, and it's been a pleasure to work with you, too. Thanks, everyone.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what the chair said. I want to thank Councilman Tiska and Councilman Stewart for all your hard work. You've been true statesmen. You've worked extremely hard. And I think Bristol and the community is definitely better with you when you were in office, and, well, you're still in office, and you made decisions that have bettered the town. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And Andy, I know you jumped right into joint finance. I know it's hard managing as the chairman 4 politicians. Then you had 8, right? You had 8, and you did a good job. So thank you for leading the way in joint finance. And Eddie, we've been working together for a long time, 6 years. And you've always worked extremely hard, and you've put your all into it. And Bristol definitely thanks you. And thank you both for making Bristol a better place. And to the newly elected councilman, welcome. And we're looking forward to be working with you soon. And I want to wish everybody a happy holiday, Merry Christmas. And the lighting of the town is this Saturday, right? And it's going to start at 4, and the lighting's at 6 o'clock, correct? Yeah, sharp. So have a good night. Thank you.
Mr. Tiska.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I have a couple things, if I may. I just wanted to start by recognizing some people that had some pretty strong impact on my experience in the town council over the past couple of years. Starting off with the volunteer fire and rescue department, an incredible amount of dedication and deserve a whole lot of respect for their commitment. That is just unstoppable. Public safety, our police chief and his dedicated police force is something that, from this perspective and this point of view, really opened my eyes to realize how amazingly fortunate we are to have someone that is laser focused on making sure that our children, our seniors, and everyone in between is safe. So thank you, Chief. And it's under the leadership of our town administrator, of course, that a lot of this happens, and it's been a pleasure working alongside you, Steve, for the betterment of Bristol. So thank you for that. My experience in the JFC was awesome. I think it was a great opportunity to meet a lot of great people across 2 communities, and also work with a school committee that I think we have a lot to be thankful for, and I want to thank those who both served and who will be serving on the school committee. I believe we have a great school district and great students within that school district that are going to do great things for our community and our state. I'd like to recognize in that JFC process my experience from that perspective, but also as a councilman working with our chairman. Known Nathan for 20 years, over that, 25 when I first came to Bristol. Been a friend since. When I came on the council, It's been great to have your friendship, but also Nathan and I disagreed a lot on a lot of things, especially from the JFC position. And it was uncomfortable in a lot of ways on things that we discussed, not just about our school funding, but many issues around town. But I do have to say, the town of Bristol can't ask for a better leader and chairman of the council because of the way that you conduct business and the way that you respect all views and all people. So thank you very much for that, Nathan. I think you deserve a lot of credit, and the commitment required for the guy sitting in that seat as a chairman, coming in for my first meeting, again, no idea, but it is exhausting. And I think Nathan deserves a huge amount of gratitude for what he does.
Thank you.
You deserve it, Nathan. Also, just a couple other things. Our senior population, I still think there's a lot of work that we can do in making sure that we have a great place to grow old. We do a lot, but I think we can continue to do more to recognize who does what the best and what the role of the town is. So I'll leave it at that, but I think we have a lot to be thankful for those who are in their senior years and have committed their life to the town of Bristol as well, and we need to continue to recognize that. I'm looking forward to getting back to work with some organizations that I was involved with more heavily prior to being on the town council, the Rhode Island Marine Trade Association, doing workforce development and education initiatives, the Harrishoff Marine Museum, and tying those organizations together with our own school district to continue to see that every fourth grader in the town of Bristol learns how to sail. We're halfway through there this fall, and in the spring we're going to have another cohort going through, and hopefully we can continue that by collaboration around those organizations. And of course, Coggeshall Farm Museum. I look forward to getting back to work there and building a new animal barn in the next couple of years with the support of the state and some private donors. And on that note, we're selling Christmas trees this year at Bristol Marine. All the proceeds go to Coggeshall Farm, so if you haven't gotten a tree, they're great trees. They're locally sourced here. And please come by and support the farm if you don't have a tree chosen already. Finally, I just want to close with thanking my family. My wife, Nikki, who many of you know from the East Bay Food Pantry. Great place to do Christmas shopping. It's been a madhouse in there, I hear, over the last few days. And your purchases of donated goods, that money goes to buy food for your neighbors. So it's a great cycle. So you can support it by shopping there. You can support it by donating there. And if you're in need, please go in and take advantage of the fresh food that is available there. And then finally, my two daughters, Drew and Hope, who are students at Mount Hope High School and aspiring leaders, and I'm very proud of them. And one of my proudest moments is when they told me how proud they were of me for my efforts, both on the town council and in public office. So thank you for that. Thank you, everyone, and I'll look forward to continuing to being around Bristol. So thank you.
Ms. Perella.
Well, I have a couple of things. First, I'd like to congratulate all of my colleagues who won the recent election, and my two new colleagues who will, well, one not so new, but continuing, Tony and Aaron. Look forward to working with you. I also want to commend you, Lou, for running a great election. You were also a candidate in a very tight race, and had to be here all day to make sure that our elections ran smoothly. So thank you for that. I also wanted to extend a congratulations to Eli Dunn from Eli's Restaurant.
I watched that last night.
I think it's amazing.
Yes.
Who is a Chopped champion. He won the Chopped championship on last night, and it's very exciting to actually go to a restaurant with somebody who's a Chopped champion. So that was exciting.
He made Rhode Island clam chowder, so that's how we got there, yes.
With some crazy ingredients, but yes. You see what's going to pop up on the menu. Then before I go on to talking about my colleagues, whom I will miss, I just wanted to do one point of business, and that is, Mike, I don't know if we can do this or not, but I know that we can't restrict political campaign signs, but can we limit the size of political campaign signs?
There's a case ongoing with Mr. Trillo down in Narragansett about
right.
the size of his. So let's wait and see how that turns out, and then I'll answer the question.
Yeah, that was a big giant one, right,
But you
yeah.
know, a lot of towns do have restrictions on the size of a sign,
Right.
and I believe courts have upheld those types of restrictions as long as they're no different than restrictions for other types of signs. So I think the answer in general is yes, that we can, but we're all going to wait to see how this Trillo sign case works out, because he had a billboard on his property.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I didn't see it, but, okay, because I think they're getting like bigger and bigger, and, you know, I think...
Any neon flashing ones?
Not yet, but maybe next time. So, you know, the lawn signs are one thing, and they're kind of cluttery, but, you know, they kept getting larger and larger, so I thought that maybe we could look at just the size regulations.
Not only the size, the other thing that I know we can regulate is the time period that they're up. So many days before, so many days after. So there are things we can
Well, they
do.
were like magic, just like 4th of July, you know how the town was all clean, like the next morning, pretty much the next morning they're all gone. The signs were all gone, so I think everybody wants to like get them back. I know I do, just so I can reuse them. And so... And then with that, I wanted to thank my two colleagues. Andy, let me start with Andy first, because I've served with him the shortest amount of time. But I've known him for a long time, and I know he's a great asset to all of the organizations that you listed. And everybody is lucky to have you. And I know you've had a lot of leadership before the council, during the council, and you, as you mentioned, you will as well as with the job training and linking with our high school and making sure our kids have opportunities for, you know, internships and shadowing experience and so forth. So thank you very much for everything you did. And I know the Joint Finance Committee, I'm sure, was a real challenge because a lot of us didn't always agree with everything there, but took that on, and that was quite a thing. Then Ed, you've sat next to you for the last 6 years or so, and I really want to thank you for all of your hard work and diligence. You're a very, very hard worker. You circle back, you look at every detail, and you've always, as everybody, all my colleagues, have the best interest of Bristol in mind, but I really appreciate all the work that you've done, and I'm going to miss you, so good luck with whatever you do.
Mr. Stewart.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you and my colleagues for those kind words. I am going to miss everybody, maybe hopefully not too long. And I know I'm not going to get to take part in the inauguration speech, but I'm going to do it tonight. So with that, with great enthusiasm, I'd like to congratulate Chairman Nathan Calero, Vice Chairman Timothy Sweeney, Councilwoman Mary Perella, Town Administrator Stephen Contente, Town Clerk Lou Cirillo on your re-election. I also like to thank my colleague and friend for his term on the council and his hard work throughout the community for many years is Councilman Andrew Tiska. Also like to congratulate our council-elect, Mr. Antonio Texera and Mr. Aaron Lay. I wish you best wishes on your upcoming term. I send all past and presently elected officials my deepest thanks for your commitment and dedication as you serve the residents of our town, state, and country. After careful consideration and reflection, I chose not to seek re-election for this upcoming term. It was an extremely difficult decision. I know I'm trying to smile all throughout the night, as I've been committed to serving you, the residents, for the past 6 years. As your councilman, I have always strived to ensure that I have fulfilled my duties with the utmost respect and transparency. In the 6 years of my term as your councilman, I have never missed one council meeting and have fulfilled every need and responsibility that this office has required of me. In my letter to the editor of the Bristol Phoenix prior to the election declarations, I stated that I would not be seeking an additional term due to personal obligations, which would require my time for this upcoming term. I would like to thank you, the residents, for your well wishes and concerns since this article was printed and has been made public. I am blessed to have a beautiful family and have no serious health issues at this time that are reflected of my decision that I have made, and neither do I have nor any private or political challenges that I'm facing. As your councilman, I have proudly represented you, the residents, and have served as your voice during this tenure. I am proud of the initiatives that I have set forth that have bettered our town. These accomplishments have been in a joint effort with my colleagues, and without their support, it could have not been possible. As I move forward in the next chapter of life, I am grateful for my faith, which has guided my virtues of hope, faith, and charity. These virtues have been vital in all decisions that I have made in my life, but especially my years of service in this town. It is with confidence and trust in the newly elected council and administration that I know they will continue to maintain and build on our progress. In faith, I will pray for all elected officials that each of them will always have the courage to make the tough decisions needed to secure a brighter future. As citizens, it is our duty to ensure that we hold all elected officials accountable for their actions and their decisions. And lastly, I pray for all of us to be reminded that it is only the way that we treat all people with dignity, compassion, and mutual respect that we should overcome the divide and anger in our political challenges that we face today. When I first ran for office 8 years ago, I ran with the intentions to serve the community to make it a better for all of our residents. It is my hope that I have fulfilled this goal and that you all have been proud of the way I have served you. In closing, I would like to sincerely thank my wife Sandy and my son Ethan, who have always been supportive of everything I do. Thank you to my family, friends, for their continued support and encouragement. To all the dedicated volunteers and wonderful residents that I have gotten to know over the years, thank you for all you do for making Bristol such a vibrant place. It has been a pleasure over the years working with all my colleagues, department heads, town workers, boards and commissions, and all government agencies. From my family to yours, wishing all of our residents a happy, safe, and healthy holiday and a happy new year. Thank you, Mike Davis. Thank you, Sergeant-at-Arms Archie Martins. Thank you for all who came out tonight, and all of you viewing at home. I love you all. I love the town of Bristol. God bless you, and have a good night.
Town Administrator agenda items.
Follow that, Steve.
Good luck.
No further comment. I think today was an appropriate day to announce the solar lease, especially with Councilman Stewart. It's his last meeting, and right along from the time I assumed office, the project was already in process. But I can say publicly that Councilman Stewart was a strong advocate and really was pushing this along. I'd also like to say that Chairman Coluro, his intellect and attention to detail, his openness and willingness to work with us in a cooperative manner has been a big part of the success, a lot of our successes, and we can go right through them. To name a few, the tan yard, the waterfront improvements, the paving that's ongoing, sport of education, Bristol being a very safe community. It doesn't happen automatically, and it's been a privilege to serve with this council. Councilman Stewart, I appreciated you always being there, the time, the dedication. Councilman Tiska, the same. You've always been there, and I certainly admire all of your dedication and your commitment to the town of Bristol. And I clearly recognize that part of your devotion to the town included your family, and that is a big part of it. So I really admire all five of you, and I'm optimistic of the future where we're going with the new council. We're full steam ahead. We got great things going in the town, and I see great days ahead. So thank you very much for allowing us, and I think I can speak for all the department heads here that work diligently, for allowing us to do our good work. I think I'm going to leave it at that, and hopefully we'll see everybody Saturday. We're watching the weather closely. I can tell you that the police department, the dispatchers monitor Santa on the sleigh, so they know where he is. I'm pretty confident he's going to show up.
Meeting, though. First we educate, then we enforce, right?
That's all I have. Good night.
Can I have a
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good night. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.